astray. One reason this may be difficult to receive is the tyranny of the devil. We spoke on the tyranny of the sea. I suspect now comes into play the tyranny of the devil. By which I mean, you assume, when you think of Arabia, you think of devil. And indeed, Arabia has the greatest desert extent on earth. The sea of sand, the Ubar, the empty court. And you may rightly ask yourself, Brother Wesley, how can that sea of desert produce civilization? Well, the sea of desert can't produce civilization. But what you need to understand is that sea of desert is recent. The geomorphic evidence, the evidence of botany, indicates that prior to 20,000 years ago, Arabia was a savanna, like East Africa. It didn't have great rainfall. It was their term lush. 20,000 years ago, hyper-aridity began to set in on the Arabian Peninsula. By 6,000 years, desiccation of desertification set in. The desert started forming in Arabia. As the desert started forming, the peoples of Arabia migrated. But before the desert set in, there was Kushite civilization. Now, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that we buried some of our civilizations under the sand.
That's right.
I know what some of you thought.
Go ahead.
Some of you thought he was spinning. He was trying to accommodate the fact that he claimed a civilizational priority for Arabia, but there's all this desert and no evidence of civilization. So you thought he's spinning. He's trying to accommodate the fact that there ain't no evidence there, it's just desert. The New York Times, Wednesday, February 5th, 1992. John Noble Wilson, in a cover story, on the trail from the sky, roads point to a lost city. Wilford tells us, guided by ancient maps and sharp-eyed surveys from space, archaeologists and explorers have discovered a lost city deep in the sands of Arabia, and they are virtually sure it is Ubar. Why is the Quran called Iram? Or Iran? The fable is before the trading post of the rich frankincense trade thousands of years ago. Leaders of the expedition reported that excavations so far have uncovered the ruins of 8 towers and adjoining walls in the palace of pottery, dating to Roman times as far back as 2000 BC, perhaps earlier. And indeed earlier, we now know. They said the location and size of the site and evidence of a violent destruction appeared to match historical accounts of Ubar's rise and fall. Much research has tied Ubar to the city, Iram, in the Quran. Much research has tied Ubar to the city, Iram, in the Quran. What is Iram and what is Ubar? The Quran speaks about a city built by Allah, one of the original black tribes of Arabia. The Quran calls it Iram, it calls it the city of pillars. The Quran implies that this city was an attempt to imitate, or at least Quranic, later Islamic tradition, commentary on the Quran, said that this city was an attempt by these allies, these Arabian Cushites, to imitate paradise in Arabia. The Quran, Allah says in the Quran that it was destroyed in a catastrophe. Later Muslim tradition and Greek tradition developed the story of Ubar or Iram. They said that the city became wicked, this black tribe, and the city became wicked, and it was buried in the sand. This is the tradition. Now, it was dismissed. The Quran was dismissed as myth. The stories of Ubar were dismissed as fable until Iran, the city of pillars, was found. And who found it? NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratories found it. Through their remote sensory satellites, they discovered the ruins of Ubar buried in the sands of Ruba Island, the empty quarter, the sea of sand in Arabia. And the remains indicate a city going back 3,000 BC. And it is a city, Akadano city, that had pillars. The city of pillars is important. Don't forget that. But they also discovered the means of its disappearance. Around 3 to 500 CE, or what you call AD. Apparently, Ubar disappeared. And the fables say it was destroyed by catastrophe that resulted in it being buried under the sand. NASA discovered the reason. The Ubar was built on a granite shield that collapsed. And the city fell into a sinkhole. And this is the sinkhole destroying Ubar. Destroying the city. This Nicholas Black, the road to Ubar, finding that Atlantis of the Sands, who documents the discovery of Ubar. And he says, the legend of Ubar climaxed as the city sank into the sands. It certainly did. Ubar wasn't burned or sacked, decimated by plague, or rocked by deadly quake. It collapsed into an underground path. Of all sites in all the ancient world, Ubar came to a unique and peculiar end. An end identical in legend and in reality. At the outset of our search for Ubar, we scarcely imagined that we would find a reality that with a fair degree of accuracy validated the city's myth. But it seems we had. Whether by divine vengeance or the random happenstance of nature, Ubar came to an awful end. Strider and Shard and Carter 14 days